I'm joy.
I'm sadness.
I'm anger.
I'm disgust.
I'm poo.
Number 20, Stand By Me. One of the best episodes in the show's history, Three Kings puts a Family Guy spin on 3 films adapted from the works of Stephen King. One segment covers Misery, another Stand By Me, and the last we'll save for its own entry down the line. The Stand By Me one sees Peter, Quagmire, Joe, and Cleveland standing in for the main 4 boys as they make their trek to see a dead body.
Oh, my legs! Another train! What an odd, clustered train schedule!
There's a multitude of clever jabs at the film, from making the train sequence even more over the top to taking a potshot at one of the actors, Jerry O'Connell. But the pièce de résistance is how they actually got Richard Dreyfuss to do the narration again.
Cleve grew up and went on to marry Rebecca Romaine. Actually, I'm not even joking about that. The fat kid from Stand By Me is now married to Rebecca Romaine. Can you believe that? I swear to God. Look it up on the internet. Doesn't that piss you off?
Number 19, Kill Bill Volume 1. Much like the last episode, this one splits its parodies into 3 segments, this time going after a trio of prominent directors. While the ones on the distinctive styles of Wes Anderson and Michael Bay are well and good, if we have to pick a specific movie, it has to be the Kill Bill bit from the end of the Quentin Tarantino segment. After a whole Pulp Fiction send-up, Peter is fired from the brewery and later taken out by his boss Angela. Upon awakening from a coma, he sets out for revenge. But instead of the bride's signature yellow jumpsuit, Peter dresses like Ronald McDonald.
Sorry, that's my car alarm. Cleveland, turn that off!
I'm pressing the button.
You gotta put the keys in the ignition.
I've been doing that, but oh, there we go.
The subsequent fight replacing the Crazy 88s with Trisha Takanawa's makes sure to match Tarantino's penchant for extreme bloodletting.
Peter, you can tell I'm different because my weapon is different.
Number 18, The Music Man. We're willing to bet that a lot of you didn't know what this was from the first time you saw it. And while the song originates from the Music Man stage musical, we just can't not include it here.
Shapoopy, shapoopy, shapoopy.
But you can win her yet.
After impressing superstar quarterback Tom Brady, Peter gets on the roster for the New England Patriots. Despite being so out of shape, he does surprisingly well, and upon scoring, gives the crowd a touchdown dance they've never seen before. Does it have anything to do with football? Absolutely not. But we'd be lying if we said their rendition of Shapoopy doesn't get the job done, even if Tom's far from pleased. Number 17, North by Northwest. While the inciting incident for this spoof is Peter stealing from Mel Gibson a copy of The Passion of the Christ 2, which is itself a double parody of Rush Hour.
Man, you crazy, Jesus! You crazy!
That's what my ex-wife said.
The last third of the episode is all North by Northwest. Well, and a little Blues Brothers. It hits a lot of the iconic beats from the Hitchcock movie. Starting with Peter trying to bury the film reel only to make like Cary Grant and be nearly run down by a crop duster. On the run from Gibson, Peter and Lois are similarly cornered atop Mount Rushmore by the climax.
Hey, Lois, look, I'm a booger.
If anything, it really gets us in the mood to revisit the classic thriller. Number 16, Little Shop of Horrors. Forget The Music Man. Little Shop of Horrors is a movie musical that's been lampooned to death on the show. So much so that we couldn't pick just one bit. Perhaps the most plot-heavy parody comes in the episode Brian the Bachelor, wherein Chris's pimple Doug takes on a deadly sentience and talks similarly to Audrey II.
I don't think you're a very good friend. I'm not gonna listen to you anymore.
Oh, yeah? Well, I'm inside your head now, fatty. And I just might reach into your brain and do this.
The most uncomfortable reference, though, has to be when Herbert sings Somewhere That's Green from the musical.
In the pine so scented air, somewhere that's green.
Honestly, we kind of wish we could burn this one from our memories, which may be the best compliment we could give it. And who could forget the flashback of Peter portraying the carnivorous plant in a school play?
Mrs. Andrews, I pooped in the pot again. I'm gonna need somebody to clean me up. It's really bad this time.
Number 15, Taken. Speaking of making a movie that much more uncomfortable, the episode Lego My Mego does so to the action movie Taken when it's instead Meg who gets kidnapped while on a trip to Paris.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. But I have a very particular lack of skills. I will never be able to find you. But what I do have is $2 and a Casio wristwatch. You can have one of them.
From there, Brian and Stewie embody their inner Liam Neeson and go after her. But things take a bit of a turn when they go undercover and Stewie is entered into an auction. But since this is a Meg episode, it has to get some jabs in at her expense.
Oh my God, Meg!
Wonder what music they're gonna use for her. Seems about right.
The biggest comes in the form of a twist when she learns her buyer is actually the full package. But because she's Meg and can't have nice things, Stewie completes the mission by blowing off the guy's head. Number 14, 12 Angry Men. Sidney Lumet's 12 Angry Men is a masterclass in contained storytelling and expert dialogue. So it's a little surprising that Family Guy actually lives up to it, at least by parody standards.
Enough! Was a movie with Jennifer Lopez that did not live up to expectations.
Much like the film, the episode revolves around a jury room deliberating on Mayor West's fate on a murder charge. At first, Brian is the only one who votes not guilty, but soon rallies the others to his cause. It's not so much a send-up of the film itself, but rather an excuse for a quasi-bottle episode whereby a bunch of series regulars can riff. And it totally works.
Look, I just don't think he could have done it. Guilty. Oh, guilty is the other one? Well, I don't know.
Number 13, Anchors Away. Much like the Shapoopy musical number, this one's almost entirely copy and paste. But it gracefully establishes a dialogue with classic cinema. And with that, we cannot argue.
You may think that song and dance is dated, boring and dry, but you might just learn to like it if you give it a try.
While on a quest to retrieve Stewie's bear Rupert, he and Brian are prompted to break into song and dance to pay their way. And the song they choose is almost verbatim the Worry song from Anchors Away.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
La 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 la.
La 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 la.
You see?
It's easy.
Not content with hitting the literal beats, Stewie then enters the movie and, taking the place of Jerry Mouse, dances alongside a live-action Gene Kelly. We'd like to think that if Kelly were around to see this, he'd be as tickled pink as us.
Okay, you can have the helicopter.
Number 12, Film Noirs. While the title of this episode, The Fat Man Always Rings Twice, is clearly a play on the 1946 film The Postman Always Rings Twice, it's more of a parody of film noir in general. While that might separate it from the other entries on this list, the episode is simply too good to pass up. It sees Peter as a private eye named Mac Bookpro, tasked with investigating the disappearance of Sister Megan.
Recognize her? Of course, that's Sister Megan. She runs the church orphanage.
And how about this photo?
I don't know. Any dunking photo where you don't see the ground is very suspicious.
I see.
The episode has all the hallmarks of a great noir: black and white cinematography, a moody tone, and excessive narration. But all through the glorious lens of Family Guy.
Say, can we go to the next scene with one of those cinematic sideways wipes they used to do in the 30s?
I don't know. I did a sideways wipe this morning. I don't recommend it. Not a good way to make friends on the trolley.
The show may not be as sharp this late in its run, but it's good to see that the parody episodes are still firing on all cylinders. Number 11, Office Space. Oh, have you not heard about this parody? It was our understanding that everyone had heard.
Heard what? Brian, don't!
When Peter goes off the rails with his love for the song Surfin' Bird, he gets on everyone's nerves, especially Brian and Stewie. After stealing his record Mission Impossible style, the duo takes it out to pasture, literally, by going to town on it in an open field with a baseball bat.
All alone it was a ghetto, nothing but the ghetto. Taking short steps, 1 foot at a time and keep my head low and never let go. Cause if I let go, then I'll be spineless. I'm going insane.
The camera angles and use of the Ghetto Boys song Still makes this one unmistakable, as it's almost a direct recreation of the scene from Office Space where the gang destroys the printer.
All along it was the ghetto, nothing but the ghetto. Taking short steps, 1 foot at a time, and kept my head low and never let go. Cause if I let go, then I'd be spineless. I'm going insane.
You know what they say. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, even in parody form. Number 10. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. In the episode Wasted Talent, Peter and his buddies learn of an upcoming tour of the Pawtucket Brewery. To win a spot on the tour, they need to find a silver scroll hidden inside a random bottle of beer. Sound familiar?
I found it! I found the last scroll!
He found it!
Oh my God! Run home, Peter! Run as fast as you can!
Not only is this storyline ripped straight from Willy Wonka, but the entire episode is basically one giant parody of the movie. There are lines, story beats, and music ripped straight from the source. And some of the characters are more hilarious and exaggerated versions of the ones found in the movie.
Choomba, Woomba, gobbledygorse. Count yourself lucky, you're not a horse.
However, we don't remember Charlie getting kicked in the shin by an Oompa Loompa.
Choomba, Woomba, gobble.
Ah!
Number 9. Poltergeist. As if the title Petergeist wasn't any indication. Yes, this whole episode is basically a riff on the 1982 horror classic Poltergeist. Much like the haunting in that movie stems from houses being built upon skeletal remains, this one kicks things off when Peter discovers the skull of an indigenous person in his backyard. Instead of leaving it, his exhuming it kicks off a whole series of spooky references, starting with Stewie talking to TV static a la Heather O'Rourke.
They're here.
Who's here?
The TV people. What? No, they did a spin-off. He's still playing Joey, but is not doing so well.
Chris is then visited by Ronald McDonald instead of your run-of-the-mill clown doll, before the tree scene turns into Herbert fighting it like it's the Balrog.
You shall not pass!
There's honestly a lot of spoofs in this one, and they all get our stamp of approval. Number 8. The Friday the 13th franchise. It's kind of endearing to see a psychopathic serial killer gleefully talking about the wildlife returning to a newly cleaned lake.
I think this is really going to revitalize tourism.
And then he nonchalantly stabs 2 teenagers. An oddly nice Jason Voorhees makes numerous appearances throughout the show, including once as a store manager threatening to kill his employee, and another time as a loving dad dropping off his psychotic son at camp.
Don't look at me, I'm just here to drop off my son. Justin.
There's something oddly funny about the way the writers have decided to portray Jason in the series. Sure, he retains his bloodlust, but he also seems to have a giant heart. It's that odd disconnect that makes his appearances so much fun.
Love bears all things, believes all things.
Number 7. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. We don't know what it is about the scenes ripped directly from movies, but they always seem to be the funniest. In this episode, Meg develops a crush on Tom Tucker. While watching him on television, she has a vision of Tom swimming in a pool, calling her cute, stripping off his shirt, and making out with her. This is inspired by the famous scene from the classic teen comedy Fast Times at Ridgemont High, although it is infinitely sexier in the movie. Sorry, but watching a grown, mustachioed, hairy-chested man making out with a teenager is not exactly our idea of sexy. Like Brian says, it's awkward. Number 6. Raiders of the Lost Ark. Seth MacFarlane apparently loves him some Indiana Jones, because Family Guy certainly loves to reference it. If Peter isn't using the sunlight and a scepter-like device to find a notebook in his attic, then he's being chased by the indigenous people of a foreign land and escaping at the last minute on a plane. The scene is right out of Raiders of the Lost Ark, complete with the exact same music and quotes. And this being Family Guy, Meg hilariously drops dead from the numerous blow darts in her back. And to think, that was all due to Chris becoming a freshman. Number 5. Back to the Future. This Family Guy parody has everything. Time travel, alternate timelines, keytars, and tons of Back to the Future references.
Stay tuned for President Ronald Reagan's weekly radio address.
Ronald Reagan? The actor? He's president?
Peter, you're the one from the future. You should know. Forget it.
After complaining about missing the single life within earshot of death, Peter is transported back to the 80s to relive his younger years. Only he misses his chance with Lois, and when he gets back to the future, she's married to Quagmire.
Let's go upstairs and do it.
Okay!
Well, if you're familiar with the adventures of Marty McFly, you can guess what happens next. Peter goes back to 1984 and has to win Lois's heart at the big dance, while Earth Angel plays in the background. You can probably also guess that he succeeds, and that Brian and Rick Astley get their moment in the spotlight.
Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna...
Number 4, And Then There Were None. Who knew that Family Guy and Agatha Christie could go so well together? And Then There Were Fewer, a play on the film adaptation's title, follows the same plot as Christie's story, only, with Family Guy characters.
Good evening, everyone.
This entire episode works not only as a parody of the murder mystery genre as a whole, but also as a legitimately interesting story in and of itself.
Oh my God, Peter, back it up!
Oh, really, Lois? I thought I might drive forward. I thought that might be a fun thing to do.
We're actually left wondering who the killer could be, all the while laughing at the goofy genre hallmarks that the episode brings attention to.
Because I'm the one with the giant magnifying glass. Is my eye big?
Plus, it's just awesome to see all the characters together in one place, even if they're dropping like flies. Number 3, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Family Guy just loves borrowing from the 80s, don't they? This moment is taken from the events of the Family Guy movie, Stewie Griffin: The Untold Story, which was first released direct to DVD, then aired on TV as part of Season 4. Here, Stewie races to the swim meet at the community pool. Of course, this being Family Guy, it must be done through parody, and the recipient this time is Ferris Bueller's Day Off. The scene follows the climax of the movie to a T, including Stewie going back for the sunbathing babes, stealing a drink, and running alongside his father, all to the tune of the movie score. Too bad it doesn't end well, because Stewie just had to jump in slow motion while everyone else proceeded at normal speed.
Probably shouldn't have milked that landing.
Number 2, The Shashank Redemption. The Shashank Redemption is often considered one of the greatest movies ever made, so of course Family Guy couldn't keep their hands off it. This is the last of the aforementioned Three Kings parody episode, but boy is it the best of the trilogy.
Oh, we've only had one conversation, but I can tell we're gonna be lifelong friends.
This installment is particularly good at poking fun at the various contrivances of the story, like the warden throwing a rock directly at the poster, or Red remembering the name of the obscure Mexican village.
Shit!
We love the movie, but the episode does bring up some interesting points. Number 1, Star Wars Original Trilogy. Could it really have been anything else? It's no surprise that the writers and producers of Family Guy are huge Star Wars fans, as there have been many fantastic parodies and homages aimed at the franchise over the years.
I'm Luke Skywalker. Me and Han Solo and Obi-Wan are here to rescue you.
Wait, Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Yeah. Suddenly I'm not so fat, huh?
That being said, it's their 3-part Laugh It Up Fuzzball series that truly takes the crown. This series of episodes directly parodies the original 3 Star Wars movies, but it does so in a very caring manner. The series is a clear love letter to the films, but it also pokes fun at their many, many flaws and inconsistencies.
Why are you wearing Han's clothes? Seriously, watch the actual movie. Lando is wearing Han's clothes in this scene. It's really weird.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.